For centuries, Western science and philosophy have collided with an invisible, impenetrable barrier: human consciousness. We can map the brain's electricity, but the actual experience of interiority, the precise feeling of being alive, resists pure measurement. The classic Western framework for handling this problem is Cartesian dualism. René Descartes split reality into two distinct realms: physical matter and the thinking self. Later philosophers found this split so uncomfortable they labeled it the ghost in the machine and simply discarded the ghost. This blind spot persists today. The evolutionary model, famously championed by Charles Darwin, maps the physical mutation of species with incredible precision, yet it struggles to explain the exact mechanic of how self-awareness spontaneously springs from basic biological building blocks like amino acids. By the 20th century, behavioral psychology attempted to solve the problem by ignoring interiority entirely. They treated human behavior like physics, attempting to measure the mind entirely through external, quantifiable reactions. While the West wrestled with this strictly external view, a very different framework arrived from the East. Applied yogic methodologies introduced a disciplined, experiential approach to the inner world. The Western baseline struggles because it relies on the assumption that consciousness is a secondary byproduct of dead matter. It assumes that if the biology gets complex enough, awareness somehow turns on. An ancient system from the geographic isolation of the Kashmir Valley approaches the problem from the exact opposite direction. Kashmir Shaivism is a rigorous, highly sophisticated philosophy entirely dedicated to the study of consciousness. This text from the Shiva Sutras states its bedrock axiom in the very first line: Chaitanya Matma, the self is consciousness. Instead of dead matter, the foundational fabric of reality is defined as Chiti, an infinite, vibrating field of conscious energy that acts as the substratum of everything in the universe. Unlike traditional Vedantic philosophy, which often views the physical world as an illusion to be escaped, Shaivism sees the material world as a real, dynamic, and sacred unfoldment of that divine energy. This axiom defines the true nature of reality as an ecstatic, aware, and completely unified field. This presents a glaring paradox. If the entire universe is made of pure, unbounded consciousness, why is the average human experience defined by ignorance, limitation, and greed? This diagram illustrates the Shaivite answer, a structural process called sankocha, or contraction. It is the precise mechanism by which the infinite divine deliberately folds inward to form the bounded individual human soul. The Absolute has perfect will, perfect knowledge, and perfect action. But within the contracted human individual, these three distinct powers dim, shrink, and become highly limited. This contraction is a purposeful mechanism, rather than a cosmic mistake or moral flaw. It is the universe engineering a way to experience itself in a localized, limited form. This means human suffering and existential angst are not permanent traits of the soul. They are simply structural symptoms of operating a contracted system. This text outlines how Shaivism minutely examines this contracted state, mapping human limitation to three specific knots embedded within the architecture of the body. This subtle body map highlights the first knot, located in the navel. This is the limitation of action. We experience this daily as a recurring sense of frustration, a lack of fulfillment, and the inability to execute our intentions. Moving up to the head, we find the second knot, the limitation of knowledge. This manifests in the mind as intellectual darkness, confusion, and the constant strain to understand the truth. This deepest knot, located in the heart, restricts the power of will. It creates the pervasive feeling of separation and grief that occurs when the infinite divine contracts into a specific individual soul. Because human limitation is structural, held in place by precise knots, you cannot solve it by simply thinking about it. You need an active, mechanical tool to physically and energetically unbind the system. This is where philosophy becomes practice. This page introduces sadhana, a highly developed technology of personal transformation that operates past the level of intellectual theory. Sadhana employs specific inner technologies designed to directly interface with the subtle body and loosen these 3 knots. The primary tool in this system is a precise linguistic instrument, the Shiva Panchakshara mantra, Om Namah Shivaya. In this yogic context, the mantra functions as a 5-syllable phonetic instrument engineered to alter human consciousness through sound vibration. The philosopher Adi Shankara wrote a dedicated text decoding the exact function of each syllable, explaining how they systematically break down the experience of ignorance. This visual breakdown demonstrates the mechanism. The syllable na reorients the user to their eternal, pure state, while the syllable ma asserts mastery over the chaotic host of the mind. Chanting the mantra acts as a process of reverse engineering. The practitioner uses precise phonetic vibrations to target and dissolve the artificial knots of their own contraction. Returning to our diagram, sound waves untangle the navel knot, bringing actions into harmony with a higher power. Next, vibration heals the mind's contraction, aligning thinking with clarity. Finally, the heart contraction heals. The practitioner transcends thought, merging back into the infinite field of pure consciousness. This profound transition strips away the dense overlay of the surface personality to completely reveal the radiant divine being underneath. This is the mechanical purpose of Shaivite yoga, the systematic dismantling of the boundaries that separate us from our inherent nature. The ultimate realization achieved by this practice recognizes that the subject, consciousness, exists as one with the object, matter. The liberated being stands fully free within themselves, shining with divine wisdom and radiant with love. In this state, the entire universe is experienced as being contained within the individual's own subjectivity. This profound realization is the direct result of rigorous, dedicated application of sadhana rather than blind faith or passive belief. Kashmir Shaivism concludes that the highest expression of our humanity is found by using inner technology to search for the infinite self within.